morning. Officially will call to order the regular meeting of Coachella Valley Water District Board of Directors on March 24, 2026 here in Coachella. And would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And roll call, please.
Good morning, President Powell,
Here.
Vice President Estrada,
Here.
Director Bianco,
Here.
Director Aguilar,
Here.
and we will note Director Nelson's arrival for the record.
When he arrives, which is when it happens. So, are there any additions, deletions, or adjustments to today's agenda? I'm not aware of any. Is there anybody wishing to make public comment at this time?
Mr. President, we do have one. We have Mr. Bob Kieran.
Okay. Hi, Bob.
Hey,
Good morning.
good morning.
Step right up.
These things turn on? They do. Wow, hey, look at that.
Oh, it's on. Yeah, I can hear you.
There we go. Mr. President, Vice President, Board of Directors, where's Mr. Nelson?
He's apparently almost in the parking lot.
Oh, is he? Well, that's what I came down here to talk about. I wanted to say goodbye, farewell,
Oh, yeah.
and thank you to Mr. Peter
Well,
Nelson.
how about when he arrives, we'll let you come back up and do that.
Can you bend the rules like that?
I can do that.
Okay.
We
we'll
don't
do
have
that
our
then.
normal lawyer here today. Well, here, hang on. Here he is.
Oh, well, speak of the devil.
You can give,
I know, I didn't mean a thing.
you can give him a hug if you want. All right, we had a public comment. We've already started the meeting that he really wanted you to be here, Peter. I don't know why, but go ahead, Bob.
Okay, well, I'll turn back on the mic. Yes, it's on. And I just came here to say thank you
Thank you.
for all your work, efforts for this community. You know, I started at the agency in 1990. I think we met for the first time in 1995. And you'd been talking with a former employee here, I think Lowell Weeks,
Former employee.
about running for the board.
Yeah.
And in your time as a board member, you have represented the district with great honor and dignity. Being here in Forbes Auditorium and looking at all these old pictures,
I know, right?
I'm glad you're up there. Very glad. You know, I look at Dr. Jennings, you know, who really kind of brought everything together. Dr. Forbes, who ironically, this building is named after, you know, after the fire in '63, when the original headquarters, ironically, or interestingly, the hospital for Metropolitan Water District's Purdue Canyon project, when they were building the aqueduct, we bought that, it burnt down. He died in office while serving the district. And then, of all things, gave much of his estate to this agency. That's
Well,
how
I'm
much
glad I didn't die.
Yeah, and there you go. So am I.
Well, you still have some
Although-
time.
Yeah.
Jeez, I hope he's not predicting something.
Oh, well.
You better stay off the bike.
So the district will have to figure out some other way to fund that wing. So, and then just going through, every director has a story of great importance. And the story of your service here, by far, is immeasurable. I can't tell you the time that we spent together, how much I enjoyed it, when we would do, of all things, the Water Education Foundation tours, which were always really tough. You know, they usually started at Hoover 4 days in advance. They'd end up here on a Friday, and who the hell wants to hear more about water on a Friday of a 4-day tour? But you always made it interesting for them. And I was always proud of the fact that we got some of the highest marks from the participants of that tour.
That's great.
And then just
That's great.
all the other things there. So I forget if I said that. I won't be here for your last meeting. I'm actually going to be on the Colorado River on the day 2 of a trip through the Grand Canyon on a raft. So I wanted to come here, say thank you, and let you know I appreciate you.
Great. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Bob.
Appreciate it.
Water's really cold on that river. Thank you. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate your comments. I don't know if I'm ever going to go back because I don't like cold water. Anybody else from the public wishing to comment? Hearing none. Consent calendar items 5A through I. And I'll note that I'm going to recuse on the minutes just because I wasn't at that meeting, but I believe I can still vote on the package,
Yeah,
right?
I move approval of the consent calendar.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. On to engineering. Armando, are you doing this one?
I am.
Okay. And just before we, Jeff's not here, but you can handle this. Before we start, I just tell you, I noticed in the package that this was not reviewed by council. Is that true?
No, it actually was fully vetted by council.
Okay,
We had
because if you
to-
look at the board package, it says it wasn't.
Oh, I'm
I think
sorry.
it said NA.
It's a clerical mistake
Okay,
on our
all right.
part.
Well, that makes me feel better.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I wouldn't be here with all the stuff that is on this board item without.
Yeah, well,
council.
can we make sure that that's corrected? And
Absolutely.
if I'm wrong, I think I'm right about that. I was just looking at it yesterday.
I actually had looked at that and confirmed with our team that they had worked on it.
Okay, you were concerned also, huh? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that's usually just a click as you're going through.
No, I know,
As
but
you're
this
going
one, because of the nature of it, I
Yep.
wanted to make sure. Okay, go ahead.
I apologize for that, but yes, it was duly vetted by council, and here we are. Glad we are here. Well, with that, good morning, President Powell, members of the board, audience, fellow staff. My name for the record is Armando Rodriguez with the Engineering Department. We have here before you a recommendation for the board to, one, waive the immaterial deviations in Metro Engineers Group bid, find the bid protest for James W. Fowler moot, and then authorize the general manager to award construction contract to Metro Builders as the lowest and responsible bidder in the amount of $11,722,642 for the construction of lift station 8003 upgrade project. And we also have some soft cost associated with the project to allow us to construct. That is project management in the amount of $137,000 or about $137,000. Also engineering support services with Albert Webb Associates for about $380,000. And then also some soil compaction with Verandas for about $53,000. And then also we have to continue our inspection through this project with an amount of $515,000. And then we have some SCADA programming to do. So we have Northern Digital with about $30,000 task order. And then we got a contingency about $600,000. So total request today is about a total of $13,421,000. With that, let me start with that presentation. As you can see here on the aerial, lift station 803 is located at Cook Street, right next to the Whitewater River channel, right across from the high school. It pumps all the wastewater from the lift station over to Warp 10. Is one of our major lift stations, the critical lift station. I know we have an abandonment lift station program here that we try to work with the development industry, get rid of the lift station. This is not going anywhere. This is a critical facility. It's going to be here. It's already built in 1974, so it has been continually operating for 50 years. The close proximity to the Whitewater channel makes it a very critical facility because we have to maintain functionality, reliability of the lift station, because we want to avoid any sanitation sewer overflows that could result in fees from the Regional Water Quality Board. Why are we here? Why are we doing this project? Well, one, it's aged, so it's past its useful life. At 50, it was kind of born at the same age I was. I know this is a joke that I keep repeating, but I want to emphasize that it is of age. We want to be able to restore reliability, resiliency, redundancy, and capacity to these mechanical and electrical systems to make this lift station work. Can't emphasize again important how much this is lift station and how it is. The project tributary area is quite significant. It is Palm Desert, it is Rancho Mirage, and it is also the east side of Querétaro City. How significant is this? Well, if we have a choke point of this lift station, all the commercial environment with the Highway 111 is tributary to here. And so it'd be significant for us to be able to maintain sewer service if something goes bad. Again, the lift station was built in 1974. It has been in continuous operation for 50 years. Operations has done a great job of maintaining this lift station, but we're getting to the point where it's just hard to replace a part because we just can't go out and buy it. We can't just repair it. It's just about time that we do away with the dry wet pit and go back to a more conventional lift station, which is a wet well with submersible pumps. That is our bread and butter in regards to lift station. That's what we know how to operate, we know how to maintain. So given the importance of this lift station and how it does pose a significant public health, environmental, and regulatory compliance risk, we really want to be able to upgrade the storage, the pumping, and really modernize key infrastructure of this lift station. A key focus here is increasing the storage and capacity of the pumping station. We have no more than about less than 15 minutes, 20 minutes to respond. So what we're going to do is basically upgrade the facilities, increase the storage to allow us to have more room to expand or to respond. Even though we're very close, we're across the street.
I mean, how much are you gonna have? A couple hours, or what? Are you-
We're gonna have between 30 and 40 minutes. 30 and 40 minutes versus 15 minutes is a world of a difference. But in addition to not only storage, we're gonna increase the pumping capacity. So right now, we're averaging about 6,000, if we can even get 6,000 gallons per minute, even if we get that, because the pumps are really old, we struggle to get there. We're gonna go up to about 8,500 gallons per minute. So it will allow us to turn on emergency pumps that will be diesel operated. And so we can continuously operate if the pumps are down. So we're trying to modernize the facility, increase storage, increase the capacity, improve the access. If you're going to go into a lift station, if you're coming from the south to north, it's really hard to get in and out of the facility, especially when there's a high elevation difference between Cook Street and the lift station. And then we're also going to improve the emergency response times as well. And then we're also going to improve the existing odor control system so that we're very close to residents. And so we want to move the odor control a little bit further away from those residents and then align it next to the storm channel. We don't have any odor control issues now. We kind of operate in invisible. A lot of people don't even know there's a lift station there. We want to continue that for the next 50 years. So again, this project is about improving operational resiliency, improve systems resiliency, especially during extreme weather events, which are more common now than probably before. And then also reduce any odor impacts because of the neighboring community. And then extend the facility not only for the capacity that we have now, but for the next 50 years as well. I'll pause there to see if there's any questions in regards to the scope of the improvements, but I'll continue with my presentation in regards to our bidding.
Do you have a?
Yeah,
I have a little one.
I just have some general thoughts, and I get everything that you said about what it would mean if we did this project and the upgrading, and I guess I'm trying to get a sense of more so the issues that we've had with the facility? Because you've just mentioned that we don't seem to have odor issues. You mentioned weather events, things of that nature. I think a lot of which we probably have experienced since 1974. So from that standpoint, all of those scenarios I think have played out, right? And this facility seems to be working. And so I imagine you might have done some improvements from the day you built it to now. I mean, are you saying that all the equipment is the original equipment? I mean, I imagine there's been some improvements here, right?
Yeah.
And so, when I'm thinking about that, it sounds to me like it's working. I get that we might want to get new stuff. But is it really not working? Are we having issues? I mean, everything that you just said right now, this facility is probably experienced, and I haven't heard of an issue. So what's really the problem?
Okay, so there's a couple, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a couple issues with this lift station. One, there is some structural concerns with the existing wet well dry pit configuration. There is visible cracks and there's corrosion within some of the structural elements within the wet well. In addition, the piping that has been here for 50 years within the wet well and dry pit is of original construction. It has not been improved. And I don't believe we can rely on this piping here in the next 5 years. It needs to be replaced. In addition, the odor control that we have is, while is being maintained and is not posing a concern to residents now, it's already aged. I don't think we can continue relying on something that is that old. Our operations staff has done a great job in maintaining this lift station, but I don't think in the next 5 years that we can continue operate at the service level that we have consistently done in the past 15 years. Lastly, as I said it before, this is a very critical facility with a huge tributary area and the main transfer of sewage from this lift station to Ward 10.
And then I'll just add one more thing. And so did staff contemplate trying to address maybe the bigger issues that you just described, where maybe you did some portions, some improvements? Would you say that right now what you're doing is you're completely gonna demo this thing and build it brand new?
We did do an analysis in regards to assessment, and the consultant did recommend to do a new wet well submersible pumps. We are going to reuse some of this facility once we improve it, specifically the wet well and dry pit. That's going to be our storage, but there's work that we need to do to those tanks so that we can use as mass storage and then construct a wet well, a submersible pump station. But yes, we did do an analysis with a consultant, and this was the recommendation to go forward. Just because of the age of the equipment and the piping, there was very little that we can rehab.
If I could just add, this keeps us up at night from an operations perspective. It does take the whole south side of the channel. It's 52 years old, the electrical's awful, the storage is awful, the mechanical pumping is awful. Just to give us peace of mind, because it is right by the channel, it's our most important lift station, and WRP 10 is right there. It is paramount that we do this now, in my opinion. So. And I think it'll get us into the next 30, 40 years as we continue to improve WRP 10.
And then for engineering, it's a top 2 project. This is one of them, and then the Work 10 Headworks is our #1 project. So these are the top 2. for engineering in regards to risk and reinvesting on an aged facility.
Dan, I would hope it would take us 52 years, not 30 or 40, so.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I'm a little surprised that you're not gonna have more capacity for response time. It doesn't seem, I mean, I know 15 minutes, but it doesn't seem like, I mean, you'd think that if you're not gonna wanna be up at night, you'd want more like 2 hours or 3 hours.
You just don't have the space for that, and if you recall our situation at WRP 10, when it went down the channel, we had that huge fine. You don't even have that at the WRP 10 as far as pumping and storage capacity.
So
We
there's
try.
an alarm and somebody goes over there and you have to manually adjust things to make sure they don't overflow.
Or unclog it, or.
Yeah, whatever.
Or turn on, or emergency pumps turn on, or whatever it may be, but, I mean, we have been very blessed that we haven't had a major issue, but
'Cause it's not-
we're going to if we don't.
This is not a manned site, it's a, right, there's nobody there
But we have 24/7
across the way.
across the way.
Yeah, the way we resolve the storage is, the 30 minutes is do nothing. But, you know, there's alarms, there's SCADA, there's a notification that goes to control, and then that allows us to go there. Our resiliency here, in addition to the storage, is the emergency backup pumping that we are gonna install, and that's an additional 2,500 gallons per minute.
Yeah. you might
And
know.
that will help us with that.
You know, I get the arguments, I think they're good arguments. I'm just shocked how much it is. I mean, 13 million, you know, like you said, we're trying to phase out our lift stations, and here's a $13 million lift station. It's crazy. It just seems like a really big number.
It is a big number. We did take a look at, because we were, well, if I can go back to my presentation, then maybe I can address this.
Sure,
My part of my
sure. And I
presentation.
know we need to talk about the bids too.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
that's
go-
why I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, the project was duly advertised on January 6th through Planet Bids. The engineer's estimate was $9.5 million. On February 24th, we received 4 bids, Metro Builders at $11,700,000 and change, James W. Fuller at about $12.6 million, Caliagua at about $15.5, and Steve Rados at $16.4. Upon reviewing the bids, staff noticed that there were some small irregularities, namely 2. The first one, the specs required that there's a minimum experience level associated with the project. And Metro Builders did submit those experience level, but a couple of those projects were not necessarily complete. So staff tagged those. We contacted the owners, the other water agencies. They gave very favorable reviews of those listed, and basically stated that those projects are substantially complete. Not necessarily complete, but substantially complete. And then the other small irregularity was the submission of CARB fleet certification. These are certificates that California requires to make sure that the off-road equipment it's within the emissions and not necessarily polluting the air. These apply to backhoes, excavators, loaders, all that equipment that the contractor uses. Metro did complete the form required per CARB and claimed that they don't own none of these equipment, but if they were going to rent one, they will submit the certs. But part of the requirements also, you have to submit it for your subs, and of course your sub is going to require some equipment. But those certificates have been taken care of. The contractor has been able to submit all those, not only for the subs, but also restate the certification that they don't have any equipment themselves, but we do now have the certificates with us. Yes, the bid did come in substantially higher than we expected at 11.7 instead of the 9.5. We did review this internally in regards to the range, but we do feel that this project is quite complex, because we do have to dig deep to install this wet well. It is right in the middle of Palm Desert, at least in regards to the business corridor, and it is challenging because of the small constraint of the site. It does require some specialized equipment for all that shoring to be done and very small, and a lot of hauling off of the dirt. So I think those risks did contribute to a higher pricing than normal. But nonetheless, when we look at the bid range from 11.7 to 16.4, it does seem that we did get competitive bidding, and the lowest price does reflect true market conditions at this time. In addition to those small irregularities, there's more. There was a protest by the second low bidder, once again challenging not only the experience, but also the cart fleet certifications. Based on our investigation and the qualifications of Metro Builders, staff believes that the Metro Builder has satisfied the bid documents. Builder's bid is consistent with the complexity of the project and reflect good bids overall, even though it's a very complex project, a very small site. Therefore, JW's bid protest, at least our recommendation is to be deemed mute. And we do recommend that we move forward with Metro's bid at $11,722,642 as the lowest responsible bidder. This project is a multi-year project. We have a total of $13.4 million. We are budgeting $1 million in sanitary capacity charge and PAYGO, and then we estimate to fund the rest in the next couple of years after. So that's our recommendation, is to waive the material deviations in Metro's bid and find the bid protest by James W. Fuller Company moot, and authorize the general manager to award a construction contract to Metro as the lowest responsible bidder. I'll conclude my presentation and open any
Okay.
questions you might have.
Peter, did you have something?
Yeah, I was looking to get an explanation of the immaterial deviations of the bids, so I guess I got an explanation.
Okay. All right, and it was reviewed by council, and you agree that these were immaterial, okay. So,
Yeah, that did cause me concern. I mean, I typically would, I believe strongly in the integrity of staff's review of these things, but not only because of the lack of completion of those prior projects by this particular contractor, but also by the objection that was placed by this other contractor. It does raise concerns about the ability of these folks to complete this project. So, did you actually visit those project sites, or just speak with the agencies? I mean, how thorough, how deep did we go in evaluating this contractor?
To answer your question, we did not visit the sites. We did have interviews over the phone with the owner representative to ascertain how complete the project was. If they said substantial complete, like, what percent of that, not only in regards to schedule, but also in regards to financial payment, but then also actual construction. So we did dig deep in regards to what that substantial completion meant. We felt comfortable that it was beyond the 90% in regards to not only funding, construction, but schedule. It was 2 projects of the 5 that were required.
Thank you.
okay.
Dan, what would you say your biggest concerns were? You said electrical.
Everything, storage, electrical, antiquated facility, mechanical, the pumping is bad. Like, this actually drains all the way, as he alluded to, from Cathedral City.
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the
it's a
south
big
side.
area.
It's
It's
massive.
a huge area. No, I think we get
And
that.
it's nonstop. So there comes a point where when you're that age, you can't get materials to replace things that are that old. The pumps don't match. Components of the pumps don't match. Doubling the storage is paramount. Getting new electrical and pumping is paramount. The odor control, obviously, look at the school in close proximity is paramount, and it is a very small site, so I understand that the shoring might be a little more. But this is, in my opinion, the most important sanitation project we have in the next couple of years.
And there's no other way to tackle it.
Put a Band-Aid on it and then do it again in a couple of years.
And then pay fines when it spills into the channel. That's what I'm worried about. It already happened once. I'm worried that it will happen again.
It didn't spill from this though, did it?
It spilled from the other side, but
Yeah.
it was the same situation. The pumps were bad, and what the level of work we did with the resiliency and like 5 multi-pronged approaches on the headworks at WRP 10, they're going to do the same thing here. So they're going to minimize the potential in the future for leaks as well, or spills. So
Okay.
No. Armando, I'm kind of happy right now because I haven't said a word and I feel like these guys I'm rubbing off on them a little bit.
Quite honestly, I was expecting a lot more from
I'm
you,
like,
but,
I'm like the only one who always talks about
Yeah.
these costs.
well, thank you very much for keeping me on my toes. I really appreciate that. Now everybody's keeping me on my toes.
So, I mean, I would just say that, it's more than 23% more. It's like 40-some% more. This is a huge project. We only bid 9.5, and now we're looking at 13.5. So I would try and do our best to not come back with any change orders that brings this thing up anymore. So, I mean, let's try and keep this at this number. That's what I would say.
We're going to do our best to manage
Well,
this.
if you start reminding the contractor now, listen, better need to stay within this budget.
Absolutely.
So it's this year and next, so it's a 2-year project?
Yes. Actually, we have a little bit on the third year, but
A little
we
bit.
anticipate the majority substantially, the majority will be one second year, yes.
And you'll keep the existing one running while you're building new ones.
Absolutely.
So that's probably another constraint.
That's a complexity
How do you do
associated.
that? Yeah, all right. Is that enough? I know I hate to spend that much. I would expect something like this to be 5 or 6 million, not 13.
Well, it won't be long before we've redone every single one of them.
Or get rid of them. I mean, we have gotten rid of some of them, which is good. We should make you get rid of at least one more. If
I'm
we do
trying.
that, if we approve this, right? We could put that in the motion.
contingent.
Yeah, all right. So is there a motion to approve this?
I'll make
7A?
a motion to
I'll
approve.
second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Passed 5-0. Yeah, good presentation, Armando. Who's doing this? Hi, Carla. Finance 7B. This is the cost of service studies in the Prop 218 notice. Go ahead, Carla.
Yes, sir. Thank you, President Powell, members of the board. We have with us Alan Highstreet on virtually from NBS. He'll be giving the presentation. Here in person, we also have Pamela Graham from Colantano, Highsmith, and Watley. They did all of the legal review for these items. And then also joining me from finance is David Lacey, our finance manager that knows our budget inside and out, as you know. In
Yeah.
case there are any budgetary type questions, he can help assist with those. I did want to note, Alan will be going over the timeline during his presentation. Within the board agenda packet, we did provide the Prop 218 notice in English. Since the agenda was published, we did translate that to Spanish fully, all pages of that document. And after approved today, fingers crossed, we will go ahead and put both of the English and Spanish versions of that Prop 218 notice on our website. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Alan and stay here for any questions you might have.
Thank you. Yeah, good morning, Alan.
Good morning, and thanks for the opportunity to present again. Again, Alan Highstreet, Principal Consultant. I've been with NBS for 5 years, and prior to that, 41 years with CH2M Hill and Jacobs Engineering. My background, I'm an economist. I do a lot of finance and rate work and cost benefit and you name it over the career. So So let's go into the agenda. The next slide, please. And what we'll do is we'll briefly talk about the rate study objectives and background, and then I'll step through each of the areas of benefits in terms of what their rates are. And then you'll notice we have a combined rack rates, and I'll explain that in a minute what that is. And then we'll follow up with next steps. And next slide, and actually can jump one past that one. So whenever we do a rate study, the thing we're trying to do is make sure that we keep that enterprise fund healthy. And so you're looking at setting rates that make sure you have enough reserves there, you meet your costs, and you do that. So that's the overall objective when we set rates. Now, in this case, because we had the lawsuits on the rack rates, we needed to dive into the impact of the appeals court judgment. And basically what the appeals court has said is that you really can't justify your areas of benefit. Now, the district doesn't agree with that and actually doing additional work on that. But what happens is the court wanted to look at rates as it was one combined area of benefit. And so we have done that. And so when we talk about the combined area, we'll do that. Now, the other thing we're going to do this time that's a little different for rack rates is we are going to run it through the Prop 218 requirements. You haven't really had to do that, and for these type of rates, it's not required, but the district is voluntarily moving forward with the Prop 218 requirements. And then the last thing we want to do is we just need to confirm that our cost of service is higher than the rates. Now, it sounds a little bit funny when you say it that way, you know, that your cost of service is higher, but what happens, and actually we can go to the next slide and I'll talk about it a little more. So in this rate study, we emphasize cost of service. And the reason I talk about cost of service, you know, to provide this service in these areas, you're going to have the same cost. But because we have a general property tax that you, during the budget time, spread to some of your different enterprises, you're actually able to charge less than the cost of service because of the application of that non-rate revenue. Now, if that ever changes, if you decide to not give a rack rate or any other enterprises a share of this general property tax, you're going to be closer to the actual cost of providing that service. So our focus when we do this really needs to be on what our cost of service is. So as I mentioned before, the court said we haven't adequately justified the areas of benefit. So what we've done is I just called it a combined area of a benefit. And we determined what that is. And therefore, we have made sure that the rates we set for each of the area of benefits, basically what we're trying to do with this combined area of benefit, again, kind of sets the ceiling of what the rates that you charge within the areas of benefit. So think of that again as kind of your ceiling. And when we do the Prop 218, this cost of service rack rate is that ceiling that folks are approving. So that's why things are a little bit different. Now if we go to the next slide, we'll go to the results first, and then I'll kind of show you how we got there. In this table, you see for the areas of benefit, a current rate that's essentially been the same for the last 3 years, what that cost of service rate is, and then what we propose setting the rate at for each of the fiscal years. And so you can see, for example, for West Whitewater, currently is at 165.37, and it would jump up to 172. even though the cost of service was almost 270. Okay, so for that area of benefit. Mission Creek is 135.52. Its cost of service obviously is quite a bit higher, but we propose 135 and carrying that through. And again, I'll show you in more detail why we can do that. And then for the East Whitewater, we were at 72.27. We have a slight increase to 73, and then going up $1 per year thereafter. Now at the bottom of this table, you see the cost of service rack. So that is what it would cost if I took all of the costs for the 3 areas of benefit, added those together, then looked at the combination of what the proposed pumping was and came up with the cost. So you can see the only area where we get a little bit tight is in fiscal year 2028. If you look at the proposed rack rate of 172 versus that cost of service rack rate at 172.11. And basically the reason we drop in fiscal year 2028 is some of our water purchase costs are projected to be lower then. Okay, so we can jump to the next slide. And then this gives you the detail on the cost of service rack rates. So when we talk about water purchases, I'll just highlight here, the way this table is laid out again is you have your expenses on the left-hand side, and then those are totaled up and they're divided by that projected pumping, the second from the bottom row, to define a cost of service. And I'll just highlight here, I talked about water purchases, and if you look at water purchases, you know, this year you're projected to spend over 36 million in water purchases. Next year it's projected at 15, and then it drops to under 8 and then kind of builds back up again. But some of that is because of some of the pre-purchase water you've had as well, and you had to have some interfund revenue to make some of this balance. So all in all, this gives you a kind of a detail of what the expenses are. And you can see, like I say, the operating expenses dropping over time. So that's our challenge. And then the next page just gives you a little bit of history. And what I added that's different on this line compared to the table you saw before is, you know, a year ago you had a cost of service study done by NuGen, and they're, quite frankly, their cost of service is different than my definition of cost of service, because that's their rate results. You know, they essentially, that's after their application of non-rate revenues and the like as well. But I have separated it out because given some of these court cases, when people focus on cost of service, I want people to understand what it actually costs to provide this service and that they get the benefit of the non-rate revenue. So, you know, that's the one different line here. The bottom graphic just shows, you know, what our proposed rate is versus what the cost of service is. And you can see that there's that gap there. But you'll also notice when we go into some of the other areas of benefit, there's kind of a wider gap. Okay, so we can go to the next one. And quite frankly, I like this graph, these two graphs the best. If we look at the upper left-hand corner, that is revenue and expenses, and the blue solid line is your expenses, and then in the column, the blue is your rate revenue. You remember in RAC, we stayed the same at 172, so that's straight across the board. And then the non-rate revenue is just slightly increasing. But you can see that as long as our column is above the line, we'll put in money into reserves. And if the opposite happens, we take it out of reserves. The lower right-hand corner shows what your reserves are, the assigned and unassigned reserves. So you can see that in fiscal year 2027, we are below our target reserve. And, you know, the district has your policy on reserves. And so that's kind of where that dash line is. That's your target policies. And you'll see that we meet the reserve 2028. And then we start building up a little bit over the last 3 years. Okay, so we can jump to Mission Creek. This is
I
a
have
little simpler. It's certainly not as big.
Alan, I'm
yeah.
sorry, we have a question on the west Whitewater.
Oh, sure.
Go back.
Okay.
I just, on the, can you go back yet on that, non-rate revenue? Is a chunk of that the state water project tax, or what's that? Where's that coming from?
No, the state water
That's- oh,
project
that's
tax
just the
is
discretionary?
different, and that's tied to that enterprise fund. But this is the general property tax. So
Yeah.
the district gets a general property tax and a state water project tax. So this
Remind
is
me
just
how much is
the
that?
share of the
Is that-
general property.
Is that 25 million a year, or what, how much is that? That we get?
I'll throw that to David on what the total is for that.
The total only that we assign to the
Or just-
replenishment rates or the overall total?
Overall.
It's like 60?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get us, remember what it is.
Yeah, I mean, in general, we're forecasting about 72.8 for general property taxes.
Yeah. And does that include the state water project tax? No. Yeah.
'Cause, yeah, that's huge.
Separate,
That's-
yeah.
Okay, so that, okay, so,
72.8.
Yeah, we're forecasting about 72.8 million in general property taxes and about 108.7 in state water project tax for next year.
okay, so that's one question, and then, so obviously that's being divvied out through different funds, to stabilize rates. And then the other question on the, going over the target reserves, are we trying to hit those overages, or are we gonna try to keep to the target reserves to then allow some of that extra to go somewhere else?
Well, the extra is not just necessarily property taxes. One of the things with West Rack is because we're doing that interfund loan for that 200,000 acre feet advance purchase, we're going to be having loan payments to the stormwater fund. So one of the uses for that, if it's over, should the board decide, we haven't forecasted it at this point, what would be to shorten the length of that interfund loan. Reserves could be used for that if they do end up over target. One of the other issues with West Rack is because we are under contract for Rosedale Rio Bravo water. If it does show up, that is something that we're not putting in at the forecast beyond 27 at this point. So that's another chunk of money that could potentially still need to be forecasted depending on water conditions. So there's some agreements out there for funding that potentially could happen if we'd have that in the
Yeah.
future.
I mean, the one you didn't mention is that you could adjust the rate also
Right.
to reduce that overage. I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do.
Yeah, okay, so.
Yeah, so this overage is not net of the payments back to the stormwater interfund loan?
It is, but you
It
said you could
includes it at
shorten the
this point.
schedule
Oh, I see.
to burn it
I
out
see.
quicker, yeah. Burn through it quicker.
Or you could go out and buy more water.
And then, so what would be the difference of, I mean, do we have to funnel the property tax through the fund in order to take care of those payments? Like, why would we, is there another method of keeping the target reserves and then as a board being specific about how we use the property tax if we have to do other things? Or do we have to funnel it through this fund?
No, it's completely discretionary property tax for this particular fund. It doesn't have debt on it, so we're not trying to meet any debt service coverage. So right now, we have about $2.9 million program for 2027 in general discretionary property tax for this fund. So with that assumption of that growing to around 3 million, this is at least the output at this
Okay,
point for,
so that's not being driven by, like you said, like a debt ratio or something?
not in this fund. So
Okay.
we'll have an internal loan. We already have the internal loan for the Mid-Valley Pipeline for this fund. But for the East Replenishment Fund, we do have debt coverage. This is one of the reasons we have a little bit larger allocation of property taxes for that particular fund.
So we still have a balance on this for the Mid Valley Pipeline? How much is that balance?
12 years.
Yeah, we're still, let me see if I can pull it up real quick.
And to clarify, one of the things that we did in the cost of service study too is set a rate or set a proposed property tax and then carry it forward. We didn't want to fluctuate that year over year because it really confuses the study. And that's up to the board's discretion to decide year over year. But you're right, Director. You could go ahead and reduce that or increase that depending on the needs of the funds each year.
So you're doing it at a percentage and keeping the
It's a set amount and keeping it the same, and the increase is just the assessed valuation increase year over year within each one of the funds within the cost of service study.
How much does this have, you would say, like in percentage?
Alan,
For-
do you remember that? How much?
This, well,
was-
3 million is 4% of the 72.8. Is that what the percentage you're looking
That's
for?
about right, I believe, from our chart last week.
Yeah, the percentage, but it looks like it's, the green is a lot bigger, right? I mean, it's not 3 million,
It's not just property taxes, though.
We
It's
have
basically
interest earnings.
but the property tax is 3 million out of the 70
Something
something?
like that.
Oh,
2.9, yeah.
Yeah, so they said
3%.
3 million from the general property taxes going
Okay.
here, so that's about 4%.
That's a little bit, yeah.
That's not much.
Okay, thank you.
And the
So what-
balance on Mid Valley Pipeline, just really quickly, as of 2026, would be about 39 million still.
So I have a question.
Thank
So are we not planning on doing any debt issuance out of this fund for the next 4 years?
Yeah, based on, I think, scheduled projects and things too. We have the Palm Desert Replenishment Facility, which won't be a debt issuance for that particular product.
So there'll be no added debt then?
Just the
Drawing
internal.
on this fund? Okay.
Can you, do you know how many years has the district been using area benefit? Hasn't it been,
Ever since the East Rack was developed,
Ever since the West Rack
well,
was
the West
developed.
Rack, yeah, but it was,
Yeah.
because it was really,
2008.
we had a rack for the West, but we never
as
had
far
one
as-
for the
It was
So it's been-
1974.
so,
34, yeah.
so it's 1974, we've had experts tell us that we have different areas of benefit, okay? And so the district has used this different area of benefit for, 50 years. And so a judge who doesn't know anything about water decides that, no, it's all the same. And so we're in this predicament right now. So I just wanted to explain that this board didn't just arbitrarily set area benefit one day, that this is something that the district did 50 years ago, and we just followed along because experts told us that's what we were supposed to do.
No, and it's all in the engineers' reports for the
I
racks
just
too.
want to explain that to people because it looks like
Yeah.
we did something. We didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Good
it's
explanation.
Pretty frustrating. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what happens when somebody files 30 lawsuits against you. You're gonna get these outcomes that you have to respond to.
I know.
That are not necessarily
It just,
logical.
to the general public, it looks odd, but it's been that way for 50 years.
Is that
Who
fair,
am I-
Pamela?
Who am I to question?
Is it
that?
30 lawsuits? It's more probably, huh?
It's a little less.
A little less? Right.
Yeah.
And then just to kind of explain the other half of that Mid-Valley Pipeline, that is really important revenue to the domestic fund. Which is 30, you said 39 million still? So
Yes,
that's,
that's what David said.
I mean, that's obviously we get the benefit of the lower rates on the domestic by making sure that thing gets paid. Yeah. It's all looped together because
Yep.
the rack goes up and the domestic goes up, but anyways. All right, Alan, how are we doing here?
We're doing fine, and I'll just put one last point on the non-rate revenue. There is significant non-rate revenue from non-potable water sales that go to the West Rack. So when we have put in some of those facilities to try to move folks off groundwater, some of those non-potable sales go to the West Rack. So that's also a portion of that chart there, so. Okay, Carla, should we go to mission?
All yours, Alan.
All right, so if you'll get us back, okay? So on the Mission Creek, this is our summary, and again, being much smaller, you'll notice there's just a lot less entries here. But you'll also see because some of these costs and because the projected pumping is low, your cost of service is really pretty high. So you'll see, all those significantly, over what we're charging, over double what we're charging. But if we go to the graph, I'll explain why we're able to hold it. I guess here, it's really the same thing. We don't need to spend much time on this chart. I'd rather spend time on this one. This one, you can see our costs up in the upper left-hand corner are substantially above our rate revenue. So as I mentioned before on the West Rack, if our rate revenue is low, we're coming out of reserves. And you can see on the lower right that we had a lot of reserves there. Had 2 million in reserves, and we're essentially bringing that down. So you can see, how you could use reserves here. So you'll get to the point, in 5 years where you'll probably have to have a pretty significant increase going forward from that time compared to what those costs of service is there. And as a board, you might decide that you don't want to hold it flat and you want to try to build up. But again, because you have the reserves, we've held it here. Any questions on Mission before we jump to East?
No.
Okay. So East kind of doing the same thing that we have here. We look at our costs that we have, and our cost of service again is still pretty significant. And this actually does increase over time, and it increases because our water purchases, you can see here from what we did in 26, we project to be substantially higher and growing. And so that's one of your main triggers on your costs going up. And, when you carry that through, you can see it at the bottom line there, that cost of service, how that ramps up when you have some of those cost increases. And the other thing that in the last 3 years in the rates, we also have some capital improvement projects that are going on. So you have almost $6 million of capital improvement projects that bump up that cost of service. Okay, we can go to the next one. And this one, they had a question before about debt service. The reason we increased this $1 a year is we needed to meet some debt service coverage. So it didn't need substantial increases, but we did need to do that. And if you look at the bottom chart, if you look at, that rate compared to the cost of service, it's, there's a significant amount of cost that's offset by non-rate revenue. And then let's go to the graphs, and you can see here, we have our costs that our first couple of years, we put some into reserves, and then we drop it down a little bit. But this is a little bit tricky. You have quite a bit of reserves here, but you also have that debt service coverage here. But so this is one that, again, we essentially kind of held rates relatively stable, but there is substantial reserves available.
So this is one fund that, you guys are proposing to go up, what was it, a quarter or something?
$1 a year.
$1.
$1 a year, yeah.
$1 a year, that if we didn't do anything, it's not gonna make that much of a difference.
Now, it doesn't make a really big difference. Obviously, you can see that there's still quite a bit, of reserves there. And so I'd throw it back to David if there was anything they could do on the cost side or the debt side that would, because to meet some of the coverage, we had to tweak it up $1 a year. But there may be ways to apply that reserve that could change that as well. But, you know, what's the interesting thing for this in the district overall, you have such big swings in your expenditures when water becomes available. And so you have these big occurrences that happen because you have an opportunity to buy future water. And so, you know, having reserves is not a bad thing. So, you know, that is your challenge when you look historically on the big dollar swings within an enterprise fund.
Well, what I'm trying to say is you guys are proposing us going up 73 cents, which, you know, for 73 cents, it may not be worth going through all the motions to, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, but that decision gets made later.
No, I know,
So-
I'm
so,
just,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
getting his
yeah.
opinion that 73 cents is not that big of a deal, so, from an expert.
Or $1 is $1, right? Oh, right. Okay.
The annual increase, it only goes up 70 in year one, and after that, it goes up $1.
Yeah,
So you're both right.
no, okay.
Okay, and then the combined now, this essentially just is the summation of everything, and you can see that the water purchases again changed significantly, and that's why you kind of have that little dip in your cost of service. Your water purchases, like I say, this current year projected at 37, and then you go to 18 to 13 to 14 and back up. So, you know, that's really some of your drivers in your costs. So again, the cost of service for the combined area to comply with the appeal court judgment is the maximum rate you can charge across any of the areas of benefits without violating that ruling. So that's the significance of this chart. So when we had that summary chart at the start when I went through, that's why I highlighted, you know, that 172 that we had, you know, for the West, you know, is just under that. So we're close there.
Alan, do you mind going over the correction we had on this one for the legal liability and why that number changed from the original published agenda presentation? Please.
Yeah, sure. So in fiscal year 2026, so that doesn't really impact anything going forward. I had the West RAC not included in the legal claim contingency accrual. In technical terms, I referenced the wrong cell that was blank, and so I missed the 33 million of contingency accrual from the West in there. So that's the big change. But again, all that did is it changed the cost of service for 26 projected, which is not part of the 218 or anything else, but it did increase that from like 230 to 377.
Yeah, so that was the 33 million for the west and the 17 for the east.
Correct, for between,
Yeah.
so it
Yeah.
now has all three combined, and we apologize, but we did want to make sure that we corrected the record, because the cost of service study is an attachment to the Prop 218 notice, and so both the cost of service study and this presentation have been updated with that correct number.
Right.
And Alan is correct, it does, we got our hearts pumping on Friday afternoon, but realized it did not impact the actual rates going forward.
All right.
Okay, so the 218 process, again, you've done it for canal rates and domestic rates, but, you know, for RAC rates, you've typically followed Prop 26, but the district has voluntarily decided to go 218, So the process here, to start moving here, was you'd approve the rate study report and the proposed rates. Then it would be followed by sending out notices. And you'd have to tell, yeah, so we could, here's the calendar for that. So to implement it, if you approve the cost of service study and authorize staff to start the 218 process, we're actually ready to mail the 218 notices, barring any changes you have in any of the rates, on March 27th. Now, there have been some changes in the last year in terms of some legislation that talked about objections.
It's the
And
Assembly Bill 2257 that the district did adopt via an ordinance over the summer. Sorry, it was May of last
Oh.
year. Yes.
Yeah, so basically what happens is, and I'm sure Pamela could say it better, but I'll try to give a layman's thing. Essentially, to bring a court case on rates, they would have to file an objection before the public hearing that would be the basis for any future lawsuit. Now, the district has an opportunity to respond to that and take that on. And if that's the case and we can show that we've addressed that objection, it essentially makes your rates in the period for any challenges a little more narrow. And again, Pamela can give you a little more detail on that if you desire. But May 27 is actually the 218 public hearing. And that would be, you would adopt new rates if the protest fails. Quite frankly, if the protest passed, you could also still pass rates, but it'd be under Prop 26, not 218. And July 1st would be the effective date for the new rack rates. So that really is the gist of the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right, so we're being asked to receive and file and authorize the mailing of the 218 notices. Do we have a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
Okay.
You came all the way here just for this, huh?
All these years.
All these years. Nice to see you
Thank
too.
you.
All right. Next, we have written communications. There were two of them listed that were I gotta say, I should say this for but we had I didn't see it in the written communications, but we had somebody asking about that little building over in Indian Wells. And I was amazed at how efficient and responsive this organization is, that you guys tore that thing down in like a day, right?
It was a non-active domestic site, and we.
That didn't make it in the log, though, did it?
It did not. I just did it as soon as possible. So it was very simple. It was a safety risk.
We had somebody that had purchased I don't know who they are, that had purchased a lot in Indian Wells, wanted to build a house, and we had this, little Taco Bell looking, or they kind of look like photo mats.
It was a
actually.
pump house, an old
Little
pump.
pump.
Yeah.
You could blocking their view. What wasn't being used, though, they just tore it down. I thought it was great. Yeah, they didn't really raise a stink over it because it happened so fast.
Thank you. It went well.
Thank you. Yeah, those are my people. I don't know who they are.
They're very, very needy.
Yeah. Well, you can only imagine that. I mean, I was getting a little worried about how we're gonna respond, because if you need it, what are you gonna do? You know, but fortunately, we didn't need it, so now it's gone.
Tore it down.
Yeah. Anyways, that was not in written communications. Information, we have two. First is the update to our water shortage contingency plan. Scott, I imagine you can make this a very brief presentation, right?
I think we can, I think I can make this very brief.
This is not really a policy thing, it's just tightening up the language to match what we need to say.
Right, so,
Checking the box, yeah.
we're required to update the water shortage contingency plan every 5 years. It's part of the urban water management plan, which is gonna come to the board for approval by the end of the year, and we submit it to the state by July 1st. So if you remember, 4 years ago, we were in a serious drought throughout California. This board took amazing action quickly to impose drought penalties and to expand our rebate programs. And 6 weeks later, 6 weeks after that board action or that board item, the state required all of the water agencies in California to adopt level 2 of their water shortage contingency plan. And I think that created a little bit of uncomfortableness, I would say. So we made some updates. The updates that we made to this, and it wasn't as a result of, the first one isn't the result of, you know, any challenges we had before, but we added the fact that we have water budgets as part of Tier 1, or, you know, possibly conservation penalties or whatever the board wants to call them in the future. We added the penalties for the water waste violations after the third violation, which we talked about, Director Bianco, at a meeting. We changed the water use restrictions instead of daylight hours to times designated by the Board of Directors. And this was designed to, you know, I think our board is really proactive in conservation, so this was really designed to kind of give us credit up front for some of the things that we're doing, and also align, you know, like the drought penalties are listed lower, they're in level 3, and that aligns with the expanded rebate programs, which is also in level 3, so that, you know, you can expand the programs and also have the drought penalties to fund it.
Yeah.
So,
So, I mean, if you guys remember, when we did this years ago, we were told that Tier 2, that, and we had a lot of discussions on Tier 2, that
Yeah.
it was too strict. And we were told that in Tier 2, we didn't have to adopt all of those, that it would be discretionary up to the board. And when the governor put down his mandate, he made everybody do everything that was in the Tier 2. So we had no choice on some of those things. And so we're kind of, Scott's really went through, and I thank you for that, for updating that so that we don't get caught in that situation again, that we have like a Tier 2.5 or something that's a little bit different, so we don't have to go down so harsh if we don't want
right.
to.
And the truth is, the board had already adopted, you know, the drought penalties. That was in level 3 previously, and the board adopted them before the state's mandate. So, I mean, I think we were really ahead of the game. The board was really ahead of the game, and so I think one of the changes that Director Bianco requested was that we work with customers a little bit more before we start issuing fines. And so there's the first, second, and third violation in the water shortage contingency plan, where we would just issue notice of noncompliance before we start fining on the fourth violation. And so a couple other small changes that we made in here. We updated the section on the Colorado River, just the more current language, and we changed some of the communication plans. So I think that's the item. We'll be bringing this back. If there are any changes that you have today, this is an informational item. You can let me know if you have any concerns, and we can make those updates. But otherwise, we'll be bringing this back in June for approval.
Scott, I have a question. So there's been a lot of discussion, some litigation, and some judgments around tiered rates. So do the changes in the language in this proposed plan, is that consistent with any changes to those?
Yes, so if you'll, on level one, we included the tiered rates or conservation penalties. If tiered rates were to go away and the board decided to have conservation penalties at some point, it's may in the water shortage contingency plan, so you may have them if it were up to the board. But that was a factor in updating some of the language in level one.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, good. Appreciate that,
Okay,
Scott.
thank you.
Next, we have a presentation, Joanne Lee, on our Sigma annual reports. Morning.
Good morning, President Powell and members of the board. This morning, staff's going to give you a brief summary of our annual report, the Indio Subbasin and the Mission Creek Subbasin Sigma Annual Report for water year 24-25. On Sigma compliance update, as you know, we submitted our alternative plans to DWR in December of 21. The plan was approved in June of 24 with minor corrective actions, and one of those corrective actions was to develop an S&MP plan to address TDS and nutrient in the basin, and where that's progress is ongoing. And we are expecting a completed plan in 2026. We submitted water year 23-24 report, annual report to DWR last year. They actually commended us on how sustainably we managed the two subbasins. So I just want to shout out to the team here, how well we've been doing on that. And of course, this water year 24-25 annual reports are due to DWR on April 1st, but they are submitted before the due date, so we're all good to go. And a public workshop on the Indio Subbasin Annual Report was held on March 11th from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. With that, I will jump into the Indio Subbasin. As you know, the basin is managed collaboratively by 4 GSAs. That's Coachella Valley Water District, Coachella Water Authority, Desert Water Agency, and Indio Water Authority. And our service areas are colored here. Let's jump into water demand and supply. So our demand for water year 24-25 was 564,558 acre feet. Supply, our demand was split between agriculture and urban water use. The demand was supplied by a split of canal water, and that's towards agriculture, and groundwater towards urban. Recycled water was also a source for agriculture, about 11,612 acre feet of recycled water from our warps, as well as from DWA.
You know, that slide is so good. I've had more people ask me those questions for those numbers.
Isn't that a great slide?
That's a great slide, yeah. I mean, it really answers a lot of people's questions.
For sure. It sums up the demand for the basin, as well as supply. So it is great. So thank you for that. And we have a small amount of local surface water, and that's from Snow Creek, Chino Creek, and Whitewater River. On projected demand, how have we done? So 5 years ago, we projected water demand for the 5 years. And our 5-year average water use is 562,244 acre feet, which was 7.35% lower than the 2025 projections. That means we're using less water than projected. And this is probably due to our conservation efforts as well as source substitution.
If we stay kind of around that number on what we've projected? Because I think we have some projections even out longer than this, right? We have some.
Yes, and that's under the urban water management plan.
Yeah,
We
have some
project out to
projections
2045.
You know, numbers like that can really change the trajectory of growth here when we're doing that. So this is really good news. Really good news.
Oh, yeah, the numbers look good.
Yeah.
You know, just while I'm thinking about it, Anthony, you've said a couple times we're only one of two that are, I don't know, meeting Sigma or whatever in the state. I mean, right? You said something like that. I don't know, where did you hear that? And I mean, is that?
I'm hearing that.
That's not true.
Not
I'm hearing
true.
that from Jim.
Yeah, I don't know, but, because they still have us categorized as a medium,
We are media, we're classified as a medium sub-basin.
Are there lows?
Yes, Desert Hot Spring, because the water is too hot to be used for urban use, so they're deemed as low priority.
Really?
Yes.
Huh. I know, I mean, I'm
So
not trying to
aren't we-
argue, but I'm
aren't we
just
one of-
curious where we are on that.
Of 3 water districts in the state that are putting more water in than taking out.
I have to confirm that.
I'm
One of 3
curious
you
to know
said.
more about that too. Like, where do we stand in terms of, well-managed basins? Because it seems pretty good.
I can check with our regulator at
And why are we
DWR.
medium? Because
I'm pretty
we
sure
shouldn't be medium.
What I'm telling you is
Yeah,
What
no,
I've-
I
what
think
I've-
you're onto something.
Yeah.
I just don't know that it's being framed quite in the right context. There's something there. I don't know. I'd like to learn more about that.
What I've heard us say is that we were one of few agencies that were able to use our water management plan as an alternative,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Right. That
Which is
was
really
something,
good.
because how
That's
many
a-
agents were able
That's
to
a
do
huge
that?
deal. I think there are about 9 alternative plans in the state of California. We're one of the 9.
Yeah. So
It's a
we've
huge
heard
deal.
that. But that's it, yeah, maybe,
Yes. Reach out to our DWR folks. See, hey, are we number 1? Are we number 2, 3, top 3?
Jim knows.
Yeah, that'll be his homework. He can come back and tell us.
Well, we don't want to bother him on his vacation, so we'll just
Jim.
reach out to him.
Dan called
I'm
you.
gonna text him right now.
Yeah.
Put that on his homework list.
Right.
I doubt it.
I
All right.
really doubt it too.
Moving
I hope
on.
he's not.
I hope he's not, yeah.
So we
better
do
things to
use a network of wells to monitor our water levels as well as to track sustainability. For fiscal year water year 24-25, we monitored 356 wells, of which 57 wells are deemed key wells that are designated in our alternative plans. These wells are assigned a medium threshold as well as measurable objectives. And so I'm pleased to say that all 57 key wells remain above their MTs. I know this next slide is going to raise your concern,
No.
Vice President Estrada. I know so for 1 year change in our groundwater level, for the most part, the basin was generally stable, as shown in yellow. Increase in groundwater level near the Whitewater groundwater replenishment facility due to continued replenishment activities. Localized declines near the Thomas Levy GRF due to voluntary reduction of replenishment, as you know. And so this is a 1 year change. We have to look at it from a perspective, how is it comparing to our 2009 level? That was when we observed the lowest level in the basin.
So this is, so on the 1 year change, what would you say is the change in feet that it dropped? What would you call that?
Between 5 and 10 feet.
Between 5 and 10, and then, what year are we in now?
We are 24-25 water year.
From the previous alternative plan?
So
Is this like year 4, year 5?
I have to take
Because
a look.
we're working on the new one, right?
Correct. We are updating our alternative plan.
So this is probably like year 5, maybe?
Correct.
Okay.
The 5th year of our current alternative plan.
Okay, and then, what year are we that we stop replenishing? So I guess
We are gonna stop replenishment through this year.
Yeah, I think we started in September of 22, we started.
September of 22. So,
Curtailing.
okay, so what I'm trying to get at is if this year there's a 5-foot, 10-foot drop, did last year's graph also have a 5-foot? Like, what's the cumulative drop? Is it 15? Is it 20? If we're looking at it year to year.
Right, I have to check on that, but you have to compare it with, you have to look at the basin collectively, because we have to be deemed, we are deemed unsustainable if 25% of our key wells drop below.
Yeah, I'm just concentrated on this, so if you go back, or maybe what you could do is, if you could send us this figure
Right, it's,
for
yes.
the past 3 years, so
Mhm.
to match whenever we stop curtailing on that year.
Sure.
I'd like to see this
The
graph,
change, the delta.
and then I'd like to see the next one, and then finish with this one, so I
Sure.
can get the cumulative of how much it's dropped.
You gotta remember, the Oasis project was almost 2 years behind schedule. And so, you're probably gonna see another drop next year, but, that's just starting to ramp up. So, you know, that's a big deal. We're kind of caught, I think, in between those two things. And so as that ramps up,
Yeah.
I think you'll see more replenishment. And then you'll also see, I mean, all those pumpers over there not pumping, so it should change.
I just wanna get a sense of
dramatically.
how much it's dropped.
I would,
And I know that.
it was very close to ground surface, so
Yeah.
it was good to drop to some extent, from 2022.
And I know, wasn't Jim sending us updates? Because you have some monitoring wells
Correct.
that you're looking at, and
They
is
look
he-
at it quarterly.
quarterly, right?
Well, we measure them 3 times a year.
Okay, can you send us a spreadsheet of all that?
Yes,
But
we can.
so close, you gotta remember what he said is correct, so close that the artesian wells were coming back.
You know,
We-
the
we-
other,
We had problems.
I just
the
like
other
to have
thing
the
in the
info.
key wells that are in this report, the groundwater levels are going down. Those colors are an aggregated color, it's blending across the areas. So it does represent a 5 to 10 foot drop, but when you look at the other key wells, there are some wells that are like close to the project that are impacting those colors because they're going down so far, and so they're averaging out, right? And so it's a really good thing because that water, someone said it was really mounding right next to the project and causing some other issues. So
Potentially causing.
you know, this was like a good thing to you know, stop the replenishment for a while and see what happens. So, but I think you're right. You really do need to look at on a well by well basis to know if it's you know, impacting.
Yeah, I
certain
mean,
areas more than others.
for sure, right, it has different meaning for different wells, and the wells that are dropping is probably a bigger issue than for the wells that aren't dropping. So-
Right, like, so when we get to the Mission Creek area, there's one well in there that is not responding at all, and I think it's even below the minimum threshold that is, you know, not kind of indicative of all the others.
So there was, some years ago, there was the arguments that were made about the replenishment program and the benefits to, like, let's say the city of Indio and the city of Coachella was that the replenishment was actually raising the water level at the wells, and operationally it was better. It's a worse scenario if the water level's dropping. And so that was the selling point, right, of the replenishment program. And so if the replenishment is now doing the opposite of that, because we have no replenishment, then that's a different story. So that's the whole reason why I was interested in trying to figure out how the replenishment is impacting the levels of these municipal wells.
So if I could help, there was a report sent out by Joanne's group up through January 2026. We are up 30.2 feet since 2009, and the average in monitoring well 25 is 27 feet below ground surface and 35 feet in 6728 that are really close to the facility. So we're 4 years in and we're 27 to 35 feet below ground surface, which isn't a bad thing, and still more than 30.5 feet average above 2009 levels.
Can you go back to the change in groundwater levels since, or just a 1-year change? So I think what you're gonna see is that area, all the way to the south turn bluer and bluer. So you see this area right here? You're gonna see this area turn bluer and bluer because of what's happening.
Why is that gonna turn bluer and bluer?
Because nobody's pumping out of the ground in here anymore, and you're putting surface water onto that. That's the Oasis project,
Yeah,
all of this.
but-
So this used to be,
Yeah.
the low level, now it's starting to go up.
Yeah, I'd like to see the areas in Coachella and Indio get bluer and bluer. That's where it's getting redder and redder.
Well, tell me if you're wrong, but won't this creep over here to
Yes.
Coachella?
I think
It's not
it's
showing
hard to
that.
look at a 1-year thing.
Well, that's why I wanna
It
see
really
the,
is, yeah.
and to your point, if we were so high and we're losing a little bit, but we're still high,
It's still good.
then it's
This
still
is-
good, right?
Yeah, and it's
but
our
that-
last year curtailment, and Oasis is gonna
Yeah.
bring
It's gonna-
somewhere upward of 27,000.
go back up.
Yeah, no, I get all that. That's why I wanted, to include a historical perspective of
Sure, right.
how much we've gone up, and in
Right.
these last years, we went down a little bit. It's not a big.
It
deal.
almost
Right.
looks like there's two area of benefits here of the recharge of Levy and the Whitewater. They're acting very differently here.
Well, why don't you tell it to the judge? Where were you?
All right,
They
moving
don't-
on.
data
So
doesn't-
here's
they
the
don't care. I'm kidding you, that they don't care.
change in groundwater level since 2009. Here you can see that most of the basin is blue except for some localized pumping.
Yeah, and that's the one you're pointing out, that it's still blue, which is good.
Right. So next time I should show that map first, so then that won't raise any concern.
Yeah,
I
the
should
1
switch
year
to order,
scares
huh?
me.
Anyway, so this chart shows inflows, what we put in the basin and what we took out of the basin in the last water year. The inflows was 462,640 acre feet, and about half is from replenishment at groundwater replenishment facilities. And outflows was 325,588. That's from groundwater pumping activities, drain flow to the Salton Sea, and evaporation losses, and net Salton Sea subsurface flow. So overall, we have a net increase of 137,052 acre feet. And our annual change in groundwater storage here, I'd like for you to pay attention to the yellow and the green trend, because that really shows our trending over time. Even though our 1 year got the blue lines has a dip for 24-25 water year, our rates continue to be a positive 10-year average trend since 2017, and a positive 20-year average as of 2023.
I remember when we were down several years earlier, I think a lot of people thought we would never get above the line, and we did. It was, it's really kind of rewarding to see that all this
course.
work is paying off.
Right.
Yeah.
So any questions?
This may be what Jim's talking about, that there were only 3 agencies. We'll see when you start doing your research, but
For sure.
this is a pretty nice graph here too.
Yeah, but when we were looking at it, 10 years ago,
20?
we thought maybe we would never get there, or even when both lines were 20 years ago, when both lines were below the zero,
Yeah.
you never, you couldn't guarantee it. I think we were all kind of aware of that, so we got there. It was great. We should have a party.
We should. It needs to be more.
This is your
more
legacy,
recognized.
Peter. You're leaving the
Look-
board. You have something you can be
Look,
proud of.
I came in 2000, and you about the same time, a little before, and then you took a holiday. And look at that. We've turned that around in the last 20 years.
Yeah, it's a big turnaround.
It should really be commended for that. I mean, this is a major thing. This is a,
No, it's the board and, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've put in almost 1.7 million acre feet at Whitewater since 2017. That's tremendous.
I mean,
difference maker.
the initial thought that more water needed to come to the valley and then be recharged, I mean, in lieu programs and all that to restore the basin. Even before 2014 California SGMA laws, we were on it, so,
Yeah, we had to really, because we were not looking good.
right.
Yeah. Good. All right.
All right, I'm gonna jump into Mission Creek sub-basin here. So as you know, there are 3 collaborating agencies managing this sub-basin: Coachella Valley Water District, Desert Water Agency, and Mission Springs Water District. We monitored 24 wells in this past water year, and of which 9 are designated key wells. Let's see here, the water level increased more than 30 feet around the mission, let me see, I'm sorry. Happy to report that all key wells remain above the MTs, except for the 1 wells that I believe, Peter, you mentioned.
Yeah, I have concerns about this well being a key well, and the reason why is it's so close to the fault line that differentiates the Mission Creek to the Indio Subbasin. It's not really in the plume of the recharge centers. And if you look at all the other wells, they're acting very differently than this well. And, to the state regional board, key wells mean something. And so to me, this well, they're gonna take this well out of context, this 04 P01. And so I'm quite concerned about that. And if there's anything you all can do to maybe add different key wells, change the key wells, because we're at or below the minimum threshold on this one.
Yeah, this well was quite new. It was constructed in 2018, so we don't have a lot of historical data to it. So as we're updating our alternative plan this year, we'll work with DWR to see if we can switch our this key well, or refine its MT. So that makes sense.
I mean, I don't want to, take the bad number out.
Sure.
But it seems irrelevant to the other wells and to the infrastructure that we have in place to monitor these.
Yeah, understood. Thank you. So here's a one, yes.
Not all of these wells are our wells, though, right?
No, some of them belong to
Yeah.
DWA and Mission Creek, Mission Spring.
And whose well is this? Is this ours one, the one in concern?
This is, I believe it was drilled in 2018. I have to check. I believe it's in DWA, but let me confirm that.
Okay.
The 1-year change in groundwater level in this basin, the water level increased more than 30 feet around Mission Creek. GRF, as expected because of the recharge activities, was there's slightly water level decrease on average of 0.1 foot further east. But overall, we're seeing an upward trend in water level since 2009 in this subbasin. So it's indicative of the basins also sustainably managed by all of the ESAs. On to change in groundwater storage here. The inflow to this basin was 21,378 acre feet. About half of that was from recharge, and other was from natural inflows, and the outflow was 16,469 acre feet from groundwater extractions, which gave us a net increase in storage of 4,909 acre feet for this water year. And the annual change in groundwater storage here, the 20-year average green line with a little dip That was because we had to drop off 2005, because it's a 20-year running annual average. Because we recharged quite a bit in 2005, and that was 25,000 acre feet for that year that dropped off. So there, you can see a little dip in on the green line. And the 10-year average continued to trend upward for the past water year due to continued higher replenishment. So that's all I have. And in summary, the alternative plans continue to address our historical overdraft and sustainably manage both basins. Our objectives established in 2005, the 2005 alternative plans are being met in both basins, and this is a testament to our replenishment, source substitution, and conservation effort that remain essential to meet our long-term water needs and the sustainable management of our basins. That's all I have. I conclude my presentation, but would want to shout out to our consultant team, Talk Groundwater and WSP for helping us with this effort, and our GSA couldn't do without them, and last but not least, our incredible CVWD team. From the board to staff, thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Good.
That's it.
Awesome.
And Peter, I'm gonna miss you. You keep us on our toes for sure.
There you go. Thank you.
Moving on. Board general comments, Director Nelson.
So, this last week, the long-awaited State Water Resources Control Board made a water rights draft determination on Sites Reservoir water right application. A lot of issues with it, and the Sites Reservoir Committee is scheduling meetings to kind of go over the response to that. So there's no official responses, but as of yet, but it's less than, the draft is less than what was applied for by about 30%. It excludes some of the tributaries. It shortens the diversion window on an annual basis. There are additional regulatory requirements, and changes the priority date from earlier to later. So there's a lot of issues with it that have to be kind of gone over and see if it can still make the water project work. So that's a big milestone that has been reached, but is still a little problematic. So I know that Robert is working on that diligently, and so we'll see what happens there.
Thank you, Dr. Aguilar.
No comments, sir.
No comments.
I have something to share. I don't know if any of you have heard that there's a proposal going around where the San Gregonio Pass Water Agency is contemplating extending the State Water Project east of Beaumont to serve that area. And I think as part of that, they're starting to gauge whether there's other interested parties, in particular Desert Water Agency and Coachella Valley Water District.
So is this,
So there's,
is this increased water?
No.
So who's gonna?
So there's I think right now it's just to anyways, there's a proposal out there right now. I think it's mainly about the infrastructure. I don't know the details as
But
to.
where's the water gonna come from? Who's gonna?
It's State Water Project water.
Yeah, but who's gonna get, if there's no additional water, who's it gonna come from? Who's sharing?
Well, it's the
It'll come
water that
from
we're
our
already
share.
trading. It's
Why would it
water
come
that
from
we're
our
already
share?
trading.
So instead of
Matt.
exchanging water with Metropolitan and us giving them our State Water Project water, and in return receiving Colorado River water, this project would have a direct delivery for State Water Project to the Coachella Valley. And that's what the project's about, is to do away with the exchange agreement, not do away, but minimize the exchange agreement and have a direct connection to the State Water Project.
And that you're talking about Beaumont?
So I'm gonna share this with you, and then I'm gonna
It's
send it.
it's a water quality
It's a water quality thing.
issue because of the TDS in the Colorado River. So we're currently recharging with water that has a higher TDS than what you would
It's
get.
being
from
floated around by the Regional
from
Water
this.
Quality Board. And so I think it addresses several things. I'm gonna share it with staff. I think eventually I'd like to get together with, either you, Jim,
Sure.
Joanne, Robert, maybe
You know,
to look at it.
I think we would all, and I'll speak for myself, would be completely in favor of this, but there's no way to pay for it.
So that's the obvious thing out there. There is some interest in figuring out if via a feasibility study that would open up potential funding opportunities at the state level, particularly to Prop 4. There's some belief that there's monies there for this type of stuff. But I think right now it's in the phase of even trying to figure out if there's enough agencies that are even interested to even take the first initial step
So
to look at it.
So we looked at that back in 2000, all the way up to 2009, and there was actually a study done. The board commissioned about a $2 million study to look at the connections to that. And that report is available, and so San Gorgonio, I spoke with San Gorgonio directly and followed up with Robert and Jim about, through the CVWD's Imported Supply Program. And so we looked at that report, and back then it was a $2 billion investment in potential facilities to convey that water, as well as a severe kind of bottleneck through the Morongo Indians there, and the pipeline that would have to go through their reservation. And so they were, up in arms about, any work like that. So Red Wine and Cheryl did a lot of work with them on their bottling plant, and so CVWD was prepared to sue over that if they didn't give us a easement to move water, and so then there was a legal tolling agreement set up for that. So it's an expensive program. To John's point, who's going to pay for that? If there is some work done that the state, in their great financial picture right now, is going to be able to fund some of that, I think that's probably worthwhile to approach it from that. But I would use that previous study, and it's been floated around between a few of us. So if you want to take a look at that, I think that's a good place to start.
It sounds like it's just a terrible idea.
So
No, it's a great idea.
Why, I don't understand. So
When the-
agriculture is using 300,000 acre feet and golf courses. We're putting that water under the ground, right now, and the city of Coachella pumps it up. And so we're gonna spend all this money to not put Colorado River water in Palm Springs because it's got too much salt. But
Yeah.
it's becoming an issue.
It's becoming a, so look, this has been, for historical, we should go get Bob Kieran, because I'm sure he knows this. When we first dedicated the spreading ponds of Palm Springs, using Colorado River water was considered a temporary solution until they built the connection to the State Water Project. And it was supposed to be done, like, by the 80s. But nobody had the money. When they got closer and closer to it, they're like, well, how are you going to pay for it? We already have Colorado River water, and it doesn't cost anything to put that in. So how do you justify the payment?
Mr. President,
But it was always,
go ahead and finish, but I just want to note, it's not an agenda item, so it's just board comments right now. so-
wondering what took you so long. I mean, you can go back and read some of the history of the district. That was always part of the plan, was to build this
so
connection.
why are we
And-
looking at a
and this-
way
and
to treat the water before we put it in the ground?
Well, that's even more expensive. So the other thing, that study that they did, there were two routes. One was through the Morongo, and the other one was a desert route that went.
Through the
Apple
Morongo
Valley,
Valley,
Apple
through
Valley or
Joshua
whatever.
Tree
Yeah.
and Yucca Valley. area.
Which was even more expensive.
I will say, my last comment on that would be that, you know, we're receiving water that's at most 750 TDS. Our groundwater basin is anywhere from less than 200 up to 1,500. And the state requirement is, you know, you don't have a problem till 1,000. And so, and then it's, you know, iffy after that. So,
Yes, that
so
is.
the only reason why to do that would be because there was a anti-degradation policy that, because, I mean, even if we got to the salt content of the Colorado River, which I don't think we would ever get there, but maybe in 1,000 years, but, you know, we're still under the state's requirement of being under 1,000 TDS. So with that, that's, you know, my last comment.
Yeah, so I'm gonna share this. I think, you know, I'd like to look at it.
Sure.
And it's very early stages. There's just, these are ideas that they're floating around.
But you know how these things get started. You have to stop them right away or they snowball.
If it's obvious that it's, you know, there's nothing positive about it, I'm sure that staff will let us know. The other thing that I'll say is that I think one of the reasons why this might be a little bit different than maybe what was looked at back in 2009 is I'm hearing that San Gorgonio is moving forward, really looking at the piece that gets them the extension. And so now that they might be going in that direction, I think the question is, does that make it easier for the Coachella Valley to kind of piggyback on that? Right? If they're gonna take care of, if they're already in for design on that, if they're already in for trying to fund that portion, does it make sense to just add an additional extension to that study? That's as much as I know. I think for now, I'm gonna share this so that if we have to connect with other people, we connect with other people and get more information. But just wanted to let you know that that's kind of
Yeah.
floating out there.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And that is all for me.
I mean, it kind of reminds me of the Salton Sea, you know? I mean, it's a great idea, but who has the $2 billion to fix it?
2006, not 2009.
2005.
Is today's numbers.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, and that's the big question is who's gonna pay for it?
Who's gonna pay for it? So, yeah, I mean, we need to monitor to make sure that doesn't become a mandate, which it's not a mandate, as Peter was explaining.
But I know that we're gonna continue to have conflicts with the Regional Water Quality Board, especially as we're moving through the Salt Nutrient Management Plan. And one of the comments I heard from them was that in the last 9 years, I think they have monitoring data for the last 10 years in some areas. They said it increased by 200, the basin, in the salt content. So if we were at 200, in some places we're at like 400.
That might be very isolated places. though.
It might be isolated places, but they're saying, you know, we have increased by 200 in some areas.
That's at the Whitewater Spreading Basin.
Somewhere that, yeah, that doesn't make sense.
So,
Okay.
all right, thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up. I'm gonna not have any comments today, and then, do we have any board requests for future agenda items? Hearing none, let's get into the meetings. I have a few, because I missed our last meeting. But I thought I had already reported on the February 18th California AB 1234 ethics training, which I did complete and got my certificate on, so that was good. I know I reported on it, because I said I failed the test the first time.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know how whatever, doesn't matter.
What was the answer for what do you do if
Oh,
you
yeah.
buy a drink or something?
Yeah,
You
buy
don't
the
get
next,
double per diem
buy
for
the next
reporting.
round of drinks,
Buy the
yeah.
next round of drinks, yeah.
I didn't see that one coming. So, February 25th, California Irrigated Lands Coalition meeting, I was on there on the Zoom, dealing with our issues. I think that was probably already reported on by
Yeah, I
Director Nelson.
read it.
Yeah, so I just echo what he said. We did have two 2x2 meeting with the city of Palm Desert on March 2nd, and with Joe and Gina and some of their top staff. And well, it was actually good. We haven't been doing as many of those as we used to, and I think it's very valuable, but maybe once a year instead of 2 or 3 times a year. It's good, just to keep everyone, the FaceTime, you can't replace it.
Yeah.
March 11th, CRB Directors Nelson and Estrada.
Yeah, it's good to have Kosovo there. Great to have you there. We recognize Janine Jones, who's been a CNRA representative to the Colorado River Board of California for nearly 30 years. She's been on the DWR staff for 48 years. Invaluable resource. I think we're going to miss her and what she brings to the table. Kind of from an operational technology, science-based person. And her replacement is Tom Gibson, who is more legal-oriented, which is kind of appropriate for the time that we're in right now. So that's a good move, but sad to see Janine go. We had a water supply report on the Upper Basin, and looks like runoff will be forecasted to be 27% of normal, with Lake Powell projected to be at, with no action, Lake Powell projected to be at minimum power pool by the end of the year. So elevation 3490. So just a dismal water year going on. There are, to that point, there are several levers that USBR could take to prop up those levels, and that would be to implement the 2019 Drought Contingency Plan and DROA, which is a drought response operations agreement that is up in the Upper Basin, to release water from Flaming Gorge Reservoir, Blue Mesa, the federal projects up, and move it down to Lake Powell to minimize the chance of going down to minimum power pool. So I think we'll see that. To that end, though, that certainly complicates post-2026 negotiations between the 7 states. So then, that's pretty much, I thought, what I got out of the meeting. And then there was a post-CRB meeting with a subcommittee to discuss LADWP's not their request, but their direction that they want to reduce their contributions to the 6-agency committee that actually funds the Colorado River Board. The Coachella pays about 16% of the Colorado River Board expenses. The overall expenses are split about 50-50 between ag and urban entities. LADWP obviously is an urban entity. They've been having disagreements with Metropolitan on a number of different issues, and so they'd like to reduce their contribution to the board from 8% down to 4%, represents about $250,000. So those negotiations are ongoing. At Coachella's $330,000 is about 6.8% of the 4.4 million acre feet, and if you include the QSA water, it's about 9%, and we're paying 16%. So we're kind of paying a little over our share, but I think there's a lot of value in the Colorado River Board. Without it, Sacramento kind of runs the negotiations. So I think this conglomeration of our Section 5 contractors and those depend on the river are good. So anyway, just to keep you updated on it.
Yes. We had March 12th, 2x2 meeting with City of Indian Wells. And what the interesting thing, it was a good meeting, but the interesting thing about that is the mayor put out a letter to the residents, right? Like the next day, it might have even been the same day. Basically he didn't say we had a meet. Well, he said he'd been talking to people
Basically
at CUW.
saying exactly what we said.
But he said everything we said, and you know, I cringe when I read these things because they're going to get it wrong, and then, you know, people are going to get the wrong idea. Pretty much everything he said in that letter was spot on. It was really impressive, actually. And I thought maybe he sent it over to our communications department and got it scrubbed before he sent it out, but he probably didn't, huh?
We did an HOA event there, and that was on the agenda, but I don't know when that.
Yeah, no.
I don't know the timing of it.
No, it was everything we said in our meeting, and it was really accurate, and I was like, whoa. He was listening.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I don't know if you had anything to add, Anthony.
No,
you were
it just
there,
seems
too.
like, you know, all these meetings with the cities, there's just a, increased, demand for, infrastructure, you know, on everything, sewer and water and power and.
Yeah. True.
There's a lot of projects all the way from Palm Springs to Coachella,
Yeah,
so.
there are, yeah, good point. March 16th, Director Aguilar, the Date Palm Country Club.
Yeah, so this item relates to some concerns that had been expressed to me by some of the residents at Date Palm Country Club regarding their water charges and allocations and how they were being managed through the metering program by ELS, who is the management company. And so I met with Scott and Jim to discuss, to go over some of the criteria that we were using, and understand you've had a meeting or are going to be meeting with the management company.
We're gonna be meeting at the property to,
Great.
survey.
Can you come to
Great.
the mic,
Yeah.
please, just so that we have that captured on the record?
Sure, our water management team is gonna be. Our water management team is gonna be meeting with the management company at the property and surveying it to determine what meter serves what area so we can ensure the water budget is accurate.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate that.
Sure.
And full disclosure, that's where I live. Yeah, so that's it.
Good to get along with your neighbors.
Yeah.
We had the board study session March 17th. I think we have the attendance noted for that.
Yeah, we had Aguilar, Powell, and Bianco, but one of the things, if I may, there was some discussion about the need to either hold a follow-up, or if Directors Estrada and Nelson would watch the video and be okay with the information, because we do have a pending April study session, which staff would be able to kind of revisit the topics that were discussed during the March study session.
When is it coming back? April, the second meeting in
Well,
April?
There's a hold for a study session, but didn't we have something else since then that we identified that we might want to do?
That you might want to do on that
I don't
date,
remember
that's
what
why
that was.
yeah.
What was the other topic that we might use that study session for? I don't remember.
We had talked about coming back if there was a water allocation change, which is not likely. We did have about $400,000 we needed to add to the pension trust, and we wanted to show you what those effects were for each one of the funds. We also want to talk about canal rates was the big one, to circle back on the proposed Proposition 218 rates before we go to a final public hearing for that item in May 27th. So I think that was one of the bigger items we wanted to discuss. And there was one more, I think the Rosedale, we have a meeting about the Rosedale water on April 6th, and so we'll have a final determination on that water allocation as well, prior to the April 21st meeting.
All that impacts Canal?
No, it would impact several different rates and different rate changes or different changes on a couple
Rosedale's
different rates.
domestic then?
Most West, State Water Project, Canal. For domestic, we did not have a proposed rate increase, but that was also thoroughly
Okay.
discussed
Well, we'll
during
watch it.
the study session.
I think it's worth watching. I mean, I wouldn't want to hear it again.
Right,
you know.
right. We wouldn't want to repeat ourselves, but we could be prepared to answer any questions from board members that were not present during the last study
When are you
session if
thinking
needed.
about the follow-up meeting?
April 21st is what we tentatively have.
Right.
My
Yeah,
last day's on the 15th.
Yeah, you can just watch it at your leisure.
Yeah, all right.
And we are proposing to bring back the budget the second meeting in June for adoption. And the rate public hearings would be May 27th.
I'll watch it, and if I have questions, I'll send them to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I'll just add, I don't think the Rosedale, performance is gonna improve any longer. I mean, it's really a wet year supply. This year, we're dry this year, no snow. I mean, I don't think in the near future you're gonna get any Rosedale water.
Maybe, one day, right?
Someday.
Yeah, one
Someday.
year, one
Well,
year.
no, we'll have a lot of wet years in California. Some year.
So no meeting then till the
Nice to have
14th, is that correct?
No, so there is another topic, and I have to go through my notes, that the 21st would be utilized for an actual special meeting, and off the top of my head, I cannot think of
I know.
the topic.
Maybe Jim can remember.
I
Put
know.
that on his homework list.
I'll look through our emails,
It
but
was-
there was a
yeah,
topic that
there
would
was
require
something
board
that-
approval. And I can't.
I don't
for the
remember what it
life of
was.
me think of it,
For what date?
the 21st.
So there's a hold
So
for
we
the,
would keep the hold that we have for the study session and
April
turn that into
21st.
a special board meeting
yes.
and add a discussion item.
Oh, have to do with filling the seat.
Oh, yes. So
That's
we
what
would
it
look at
is.
the election process.
That's what it was.
That's what it was, thank you.
Yeah, so I think we're gonna need to do that,
So,
the board
yeah.
seat.
Alright.
So the 20,
Yeah,
Cause the countdown
that's
will
what it was.
start from.
That's what it was.
15.
Now
Now,
thank you.
thank you.
Got it. All that stuff you said, Carla, that doesn't count.
I know,
No,
no,
no.
that's not it.
No, that wasn't it. Okay. It's important, but that's not what we were thinking.
So
Just
I
to-
will update the
Yeah.
calendar appointment to reflect from a study session to a
I
special
think we
board
should
meeting.
let's do that. Let's just do it. Then we had March 18th, disadvantaged community. I believe I was not on that one.
I
so
was not on there either. But with that said,
Take me off.
would you check with Eric, Sylvia? I think there's a proposed workshop that can you
For
just,
what, I'm sorry?
for, the update to the, the water and sewer consolidation projects? There's a workshop being scheduled, like 2 weeks from now. Can you just make sure it's on my calendar? It's in the evening.
Okay. March 19th, Salton Sea Authority, Aguilar and Estrada.
Yeah, regular meeting, big ticket items there were restructuring of the officers of the authority. Given that IID has decided to no longer be a part of the authority, we felt, the board felt that it was necessary to restructure the officers, and so with that change, what we did is we just moved, we're on a rotation each year where the vice president becomes the chair and then the secretary becomes, so we just decided to move everything, and so for the time being, I'm gonna be the chair until the remainder of the year, which is really just one more meeting. So I'll chair the next meeting, and then we'll have a bigger discussion at the end of the fiscal year to see what we do for the next year coming up. The other thing that was on there was,
The strategic plan?
which there's a
Yes,
There's
so all the
yeah.
board members
There's
have
a copy
copies
here.
of the strategic plan, so I would just mention on the plan that, it was, probably a 6 to 9 month effort of the board to put together this 5-year plan. So a lot of time and effort, went into it with the consultant. I think they actually did a really good job. I think, the meat of the plan is actually in the metrics, which are contained in the strategies in the second part of the plan. But it was approved, and it's, it's something that can be modified as time goes by, but, you all have copies and would encourage you to give it a look and
Thank
ask
you.
any questions.
Yeah, no, I leafed through it. It looked pretty good.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. And I would say that during that strategic planning process, one of the things that stood out as a big priority was ensuring that we could finish that feasibility study. And so, obviously that's in alignment with a lot of the comments that we've made on the EIS, for the guidelines. That's the reason why we're trying to make sure that we can use the $1 million on the commitment so that we can work on some of the things that we gotta do to ensure that feasibility study is complete. So, and that's all because that continues to be a big priority. That's pretty much it.
Do we have any other meetings we need to report on?
None.
None for me either. All right, is there a motion? I'll make a motion to approve per diem for meetings reported on. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed 5-0. General manager, or should I say assistant general manager?
No comment, sir.
Well, glad you were up here with us today.
Thank you.
How long have you been the assistant now?
Almost 7 years. And I've been here 24 years tomorrow.
No,
believe it or not, yeah.
Yeah,
Tomorrow,
no, the
wow.
assistant, general manager, 7 years?
7 years in August, yeah.
Who is the,
Jan Park.
I'm confused because the director of, who's been the director of facilities and all that?
So I have 3 assistant directors
Uh-huh.
underneath me, Chad Austin, Ruben Rivera, and Tom West. They manage facilities, domestic and sanitation respectively.
Okay, but prior to that, you were the director,
Mhm.
and then.
Yes.
Took
and
3
then
people
got
to do
split.
his job.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been that long.
It's been that long. Time goes quickly.
Wow.
Yeah. It does.
Okay.
Crazy, huh?
Thank you.
Good. Council,
Thank you. I have no report today.
no report? Do we have any departmental reports? Mercifully, no. So I know, I knew it was gonna take longer. All right, well, we have no further business, and with that, we are adjourned.